Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
You can navigate the legal and emotional journey of divorce and exit a marriage the way you entered it, with mindfulness, love, and respect. Solace Divorce Mediation is a full-service law practice helping couples focus on the health and well-being of children and their forever co-parenting family. Our streamlined divorce journey offers flat fees with an estimated completion time frame of 2 to 4 months. If you or a friend need us, visit solacedivorce.com.
Oh, look at that. We're live. You gotta wait, it's gonna come. Dr. Jan, quit doing that to me. So that was Dr. Jan in the background, everybody. Say hi to Dr. Jan back there. Welcome, everybody. This is so different. Say hello from wherever you are. Welcome to, oh, hi, Lisa, I see you. Welcome to today's experience. That's what I want to say. That's what I want to call it. We're so glad you're here. Well, oh my goodness, Dr. Jan quit distracting me. What? I know, I'm going to panic. I am not used to this. If I don't have my bathrobe and my bell of purpose, someone's telling me to breathe, so I'm going to breathe. But listen, this is going to be what it is meant to be today. We're glad to have you guys here to be a part of the Awaken, the Abundant Master Within. We're here in Miami, and let's just let this be what it is intended to be. So I'm going to start. I'm so happy to see you, Lisa. There we go. Okay, that makes it easier for me. So I'm going to start. I guess I should come up closer. And are you going to be able to do the thing later? Okay. So I'm going to kick things off and be quick. We got a lot to cover. We have Jason Cisneros coming in virtually to talk about your businesses and all the way through the stratosphere. And we have a special guest live. Pastor Randy is here. He's over in the corner. He's got something special for you too, and some other surprises. So I wanted to get started today to talk about creating divine memories. Most of us are familiar with fond memories, but I don't think too many of us pay much attention to creating divine memories. And why is that so important? I'm going to hopefully share why today. For me personally, I spent decades trying to push a lot of memories someplace other than here, definitely someplace other than here, which didn't really work so well because back then I didn't realize yet that it's never about just one thing. And I also didn't realize that the little me, when my name was Larry, I don't know if any of you have seen the GoCast video, but it tells the story of how I had 22 mothers, 22 different homes. And it started when I was 9 years old and lasted until I was 17 years old. So, and then my name changed because that wasn't my real name. Larry was now Lauren. So there were a lot of things that I just felt didn't make sense, didn't belong. But now I know today they all do. Why? Because the universe doesn't make mistakes. They're merely keeping our journeys interesting. So, divine memories. I'm going to share with you what happened with me just in the last few months of 2022. In August, when I received an honorary doctorate, I was at the graduation, memorizing the stairs up on the stage in line with all the other graduates. And I was more concerned with tripping or stumbling or getting caught up in all the regalia, all the stuff they have you wear. And it caught me so by surprise when two people away from me, I heard a voice that asked me, Lauren, will you look to the left? And I did it because I know the voice. I just didn't expect them in that moment. And I looked to the left and I saw rolling hills of giant dominoes. Right, giant dominoes. Not the side of the domino with the numbers, but the black side, the side with no numbers. And they were staggered like every other. And I was like, what is this? And the voice said to me, we're showing you what you can comprehend. We'll tell you more about it later. But right now, look at every one of those giant dominoes as an opportunity, a door or a window of opportunity, not a wall, because there's a difference. Divineness provides us windows and doors of opportunity. Why? Because they know that if we summon the courage to peek in through the window of opportunity, eventually we'll summon the courage to walk in the door of opportunity. Because in order to get through something, you can't treat it like a wall when the people say to you, remember in the past, oh, just get over it. Wall talk. You'll find a way around it. Wall talk. Or somehow you'll dig from underneath it. Wall talk. Opportunities are windows and doors so you can see through, go in, and get through. So I'm looking and I see those. I was like, well, why can't I see the numbers? They said, because if we showed you the numbers and said, go to the one with the highest value, you would immediately run to the double sixes. But really within divinity, purpose, the two blank ones are equal to the two sixes. Because what is greater than us doesn't feel that any opportunity, any experience, and definitely no person is greater or less than the next. So I found that very interesting. So I said, okay, I get it. And next thing you know, they're calling my name. And I went up, did the little cloaking ceremony, took my picture, and went on about my business. Fast forward to December, where another manifestation, which I did not consciously, just like the honorary doctorate, I did not say to myself this time last year, ooh, one of my things this year is I want to be a doctor. Or, ooh, I want to get the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Neither one of those things. Nonetheless, they found me through the law of attraction, through manifestation. When I mentioned little Larry from all those years ago, the one who went through the 22 homes, the one who took on a lot of weight, a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, I believe that he, all the versions of me, they manifested the life I live today, or a great portion thereof. Just like I believe what I do today to serve the world is manifesting what's around that corner known as the future for me. So, divine memories, how different are they and why are they so important? Well, December 3rd, when I was in Las Vegas, there I was in line. So this time there were round tables because it was a dinner, an award dinner. And there was again, two people away from going up. And I heard the voice again, Lauren, will you look to the left? And I looked, but this time where there was once dominoes on those same rolling hills, they were doorways of every kind imaginable. And they said, when I say they, I mean everything greater than me. It was like a chorus, a harmonic choir, if you will, with purpose running directly down the middle, singing the melody. And they said, these doors are all the doors that you have opened and served the world through. And these are the doors that those that you have served are serving others in the world through. You will be asked by us one final time in this journey to please look to the left. And here's why. When you came to this journey, you came with a spiritual key ring. And every time you did the hard thing, every time you made it through that thing that you thought you never could, but you did, every time you failed forward and got back up, no matter what people said about you, thought about you, you still kept going. A key to one of these doors was added to that ring. Feel the weight of it now in your hand, in your spirit. But the day will come, Lauren, when we will ask you that final time to look to the left. And you'll feel the weight, but something will be different about the key ring, because there will be no sound this time from the keys moving about. That will be because you will have just added your last key. There's no more room, which will mean your journey in this life is complete. Why is this important? Because when you look to the left that third and final time, the doorways will not be empty. You will see all of those that you have served and those that they are serving through your service. And that alone will take away that fear of what is to the right, whatever form you will take next, and whatever will be waiting for you over there. Because you will look at all of those divine memories, and it will be they who look back at you and say, go, do not be afraid. Leave your work here within our capable hands. We will make sure that it finds the world that we see coming over those hills. It will be right here, exactly how you've left it. So go into what is next for you. And then they called my name, and I went up on the stage. And so, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to use these little props. So, and I need volunteers real quick, so come up here. This is Leah. This is Brian. And Tim. So, the reason I'm using these examples is because about 5 years ago, when I was having dinner with my husband in Naperville, Illinois, and a waiter came running across the floor. Somebody keep me on time too, would you? And he stopped dead in his tracks. And he goes, bathrobe moment? I was new to it then. And I was, of course, gasping like, oh my God, someone recognized me. But I couldn't even get in. I was like, and he goes, looked at my husband and goes, Brian? And ran to Brian. And it's been that way ever since. And I'm grateful for that. But that was the moment I met Adolfo Carrillo, who led me to Tim. Now, I could have gone about my business that day, thinking how nice this guy recognized us both, actually bought us a bottle of wine, and we talked about it for weeks to come. I could have labeled it a fond memory and put it somewhere in a junk drawer. But little did I know that I really did know that was not. I had to turn all these off, except for this one. Over here, there. That, I kept it. I don't know if you can see it, but the fake flame is still going. Time went on, and that is how I met Tim, who was in this room with me today. Then, through Tim, I met Liam, and I met Brian, who came to the power of we and changed kids' lives, poured into people. Some of the people in this room, because of that day, will be joining us as we go to Romania on the Legacy of Hope tour in May, leaving again memories that hopefully will be divine memories for people we may never see again, but they will see us because, go ahead, you can sit down. Thank you. Thank you for your help. The reason I had them holding these is because those memories, I know it to be true, that the day will come when I look to the left like they promised me that third and final time. And it won't be the kind of memory where you go, oh, remember that time we were at Magic Mountain and you got sick after we got off the Matterhorn? Oh, wasn't that funny? Those are nice. But it will be those divine memories. The time you found yourself about to step over that homeless person on the sidewalk, but spirit caught your foot in mid-step. And you stopped, and you took the time to see that person in that very divine moment. It'll be those times when you said something that was encouraging to a stranger at a bus stop or in a grocery store line. Maybe you just complimented them on something that caught your eye. But what you didn't know was they had just found out minutes before in the car that they had a cancer diagnosis, that they were living with something fatal, and all they could think about in that moment was what they were going to go home and share with their family, how their life would never be the same again. How do I have that example? I didn't make it up. It actually happened to me. I'll never forget the day after first starting this work when I was on my, I didn't want to do a podcast. Everything was getting in my way that day, and I just didn't feel like being of service. And I came this close to canceling. And it was an obscure, little known podcast, but so was I. And it was in India. It was 4 weeks later. I was awakened in the middle of the night, and I didn't know why. I could not go back to sleep. So I went to my computer and I opened up my Gmail. And inside that Gmail, there was a letter and a photo from someone, a kid, he was 15 years old, in Bangladesh, India. The picture showed him and his parents on the couch in their living room, and on the table was a handgun. And in the letter, he said to me, this morning, in the middle of the night, I got up and I stole my parents' gun and I stole my parents' Mercedes. I drove 40 miles into the middle of what I thought was nowhere. But at the last moment, I saw a light through the woods, and I knew there was a house nearby. So before blowing my brains out, I turned up heavy metal music, or was going to. And as I reached over to turn the volume up, my elbow hit the console on the steering wheel, which changed the channel from FM to AM. And I landed in the middle of a podcast, and it was your voice speaking to me. A half hour later, I had emptied out the cartridge of the gun. I had driven back to my parents, and I had awakened them and told them what almost happened. But before we went to bed, my parents said, let's sit down and write this guy. And they did. I cannot tell you what I felt in that moment. Everything came crashing in. How I almost passed up an opportunity to literally save a life. Oftentimes, we don't know what we're doing, and it's for a reason. Two things about purpose. It does not work with us well on a shared custody agreement. We cannot pick it up every other day, every other weekend, holidays, or when we just feel like it. We must be dedicated to doing our very best, as the four agreements dictate, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Because it's that moment when you think no one is watching, when you think it just doesn't matter, when it could be your greatest moment in this journey of all. I am grateful today that purpose works on a need-to-know basis. Because today, if I had been shown the responsibility of the work I do, back when I was stranded in a dark world, thinking I was alone, 7 suicide attempts. If I had seen what was coming as a result of the numerous sexual and physical and mental abuse episodes and experiences all those years in foster care, if I had seen or heard half the things that people in the world said about me, I would have never found the courage to become me. So how did I get out of it? And I'm going to wrap with this. It's very easy. I'm sharing with you what Greater Than shared with me. It took one time. Why only one time? Because the truth never changes, and it never changes on us. It's the only thing in the universe that doesn't get skinnier or fatter, older or younger. The truth today will still be the truth a million years from today. And so it took one time for me to be baptized inside of purpose. when they said to me, Lauren, everything you do, mean it, for it will then become meaningful to someone somewhere in your universe. Everything you think becomes a word, and the word becomes an action. And that action has consequences or produces fruit. I encourage all of you today to create divine memories. Divine memories provide low-hanging fruit, not ornamental fruit where people will stargaze, but low-hanging fruit where when they taste it and partake of the nutrition within it, they will have a burning desire just like us to now trailblaze. You can change this world in ways you never knew possible, but it begins with changing yourself. And I'll never forget when the universe spoke to me and said, Lauren, you need only do two things for the world to know your name for thousands of years to come. And I said, I'm listening. And they said, the great part is with us, one thing always cancels out the other because we make it easy and interesting. So here it goes. Wake up every single day and believe that you can bring something to this world that this world has never seen. But in order for that to happen, you must wake up every day and be willing and courageous enough to believe that you can be a Lauren that you've never been. So then the final piece is here. I was instructed two things. Start your day through dominion. We are the only creatures in this world gifted with speech. So every morning I give literal permission to all those beings that were created through the same purposeful hand that I was. When I was a kid, they used to drop me off at all those homes and I'd hear them tell the other parents, he's a good kid, but don't be surprised when you hear him having lots of conversations with his imaginary friends. They were never imaginary. They're here in this space with me right now. I want you to be encouraged and every day, literally, call on all those beings, angelic, spiritual, and all the host of others that we don't even have names for. And just say, I am speaking to everything that was designed through the same hand of purpose as I. And I am giving you in just a moment literal permission to aid me in finding my highest self this day. I'm giving you literal permission to help me become the best person I can be to be of service to this world today. And I give you this permission in 3, 2, 1. Now go. And they will. And the other part is when you end your day. Tim, can you get this? Oh, hi. Tim, can you get this ready? This is the piece that I don't want you to forget. Now, you won't see me, but you'll be able to hear me. But pay close attention to what you see on the screen. They showed me about things that do not serve us. They said, yeah, just pull it up and just hold it for a second, Tim. How do you find things in your world that do not serve you? They told me to go to my computer and pull up the clip from the movie The Shining, where Danny is riding a big wheel through the hallways of that vast hotel. And they said, you see that innocent looking child on that innocent looking big wheel? Well, those things are not innocent. That is how you must see those things that do not serve you until you can name them. When you are at the end of your day in your journal, when you're writing down everything you're grateful for, and suddenly you hear something in the hallways of your world, when you know you have already put all your dreams and passions to bed for the night, don't just go about your way as if you do not hear it. For the longer you allow those things that do not serve you to have free run, it is just a matter of time before they will have you serving them. And that really hit home. I said, well, how do I make that not possible? And here's what they said. Every single night, tuck all of your dreams and passions, tuck them in, and tell them a bedtime story that you have written from the gratitude you have for the life you've just recently lived. And so that's what I want you to remember. And you can start it whenever you get it ready. Everything you've ever lived has been placed in your journey so that one day when your time is up, none of us is in competition with anyone, but we each are in competition with time. It will find us all, and our time will be over. What will you look at when you look to the left? What will be looking back at you? Make every moment count, and count every moment as an opportunity. Is it going? Give us a chance here. And just hit play. Yep. Live TV, hold on. I could do a tap dance while we're getting, no, you don't want that, trust me. I want to say hello to our two people that came in. What are your names? Say it. What's your nickname? Sebastian. Okay, there you go. And Christoph, nice to be here with you. So, okay, great. So, whether your story, if you're a creationist and it's in the beginning, or the Big Bang Theory, once upon a time, every single night, look over your shoulder to the day you have just lived. Close your eyes. Do it right now and just look at all the things you have to be grateful for. Everything that has ever hurt, everything that has ever healed, all of them happened on purpose. For a purpose. I never knew. Today I look back and I'm so grateful that I can't remember how I got to that place where I thought, I don't matter. Nothing I ever will do will matter. But time kept moving and it began to change. It began to change. I began to grow. At the time, I had no idea. Why would I be in this horrible place with these horrible people under these horrible circumstances? But today I know it was so that I would have an example of what to never become. Every time I lost a job, I was like, it was McDonald's, for goodness sake. But my dreams were not of McDonald's. I traded in French fries to save lives, literal human lives. So much I've done. Everything we do will change. And it'll seem like it's so far in the past. But when you need it to remind you of who you are and what you have done, just like those candles, it will turn on for you. Just like it turn on. You don't have to know everything all at once. Remember this. Purpose works on a need-to-know basis. So every time you go, you grow. And once you grow, you're an authority. You live through it. Now you know something. The only thing left is now to go and show others what you know to be true. So do you think I ever thought that everyone that ever betrayed me, that everyone that ever lied on me, that ever hurt me, how could they have been great? I'd live it all over again if I had to. Why? Because every single moment, everything led me right here right now in this divine memory with you. Don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget it. Thank you so much. God bless you all. And create divine memories. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And hello, everybody back there. Oh, I get to introduce Jason. He's here. I just want to say, this is another thing. People will see you. They will see you. I'll never forget, it was in the first few months of this career, and I had a couple of friends, Joshua T. Berglund and Melissa Hull Gallimore, who texted me. They were blowing my phone up, and they said, Lauren, there's a guy, a good friend of ours, and he's powerful. His name is Jason Cisneros. He's going to reach out to you because he wants to meet you. Don't blow him off, because that's how I was back then. I was like, I'm trying to meet people. I'm trying to find my way within purpose. But I'm so glad that I listened to them. He has been a mentor, a brother. He has saved me from perilous roads when I thought I knew everything, but I believed what he told me, and I'm glad I did. So, and he's one of the most successful people I've ever met in my life. And so, how do I get to bring him in? Tim, oh, I get it. Never mind. You guys, I've never done this like this. I'm going to bring him in. Jason.
What's up, brother?
How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you doing? That was fantastic. I love that shirt too, by the way. That's fair.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, I'm going to let you go to it. You can just go ahead and tell everybody what you're going to talk about. The floor is yours. Pour into us, please.
Is there any way, Lauren, is there a way to interact with everybody in the room? Can they answer questions and whatnot?
At the end, yeah. Or you want to do it during?
Well, there's some things.
You know how to do that.
It's.
I mean, we can keep the screen open and people
Oh.
can come up. So if we have a question, we can walk up and say, "Hey, Jason."
Oh, yeah.
Ask something in.
How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Doing great. Good to see you too.
It's been what, since Chicago, right?
Yeah, it's in Chicago, so it's been a little bit.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, so here's what I'm gonna do. Is everybody ready to roll?
Yeah, everyone's ready to roll.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna. It's interesting. Lauren asked me to be here today. He put up a subject. There we go. Now I can see everybody.
There we go.
Is that the wonderful Jen over there? Awesome. So let's see if I got an echo or not. I think we're good. So Lauren asked me to put together something special for you guys today, and it's always interesting, hanging out with Lauren and what comes to mind for him, and he's always surrounded by exactly the right people at exactly the right time for their growth, for what you guys are here to do, to take your game to the next level. And I'm assuming everybody made the trip to Miami to figure out how to take your game to the next level. And one of the things that I was thinking about, and I wanted to bring to you all today, is to talk a little bit about some harsh truths, some realities that will help you get to the next level. Is everybody okay with that? Let me just see, show of hands, if everybody's okay with getting some good truths today. Awesome. I'll tell you just a little bit, though I don't know who knows me and who doesn't, but I'll just give you a little background on where I came from and how that makes today's information relevant. What you looking at?
I'm making there.
So just again, for those of you that don't know me, I was adopted when I was young. My mom married a guy that ended up adopting me. Very abusive fella. He broke my nose 17, 18 times by the time I was 17 years old, and then went to prison for attempted murder of me and my mom when I was 17. His profession was basically being a gangster and selling drugs, and we would move town to town when he would do stuff, and he would get regular jobs. It was a pretty interesting upbringing, so to speak. But when he went to prison, and I think that this is the relevant point, is that I did what I knew when he went to prison. Yes, that got extracted out of my life, but I carried with it the impact that him calling me a loser, the abuse, the not understanding why somebody that was supposed to be my dad. And I didn't know that I was adopted until the day that he was sentenced to 18 years for attempted murder. But I did what I knew, right? And that's what I want you all to think about as we're going into this is, what have you been taught? What has your environment conditioned you to believe just because you were around it as a matter of geographic location, right? By the choice of birth, by your parents, by the neighborhood, by the town that you were raised in, because that's ultimately when you accept the fact that is one set of rules, that is one set of understanding, that is one set of knowledge that you're carrying around with you. And there's a whole other set, which is sort of why you're here, right? There's a whole other set of rules and behaviors and actions that you can take in your own life that will get you different results. And so I didn't know that yet, right? I didn't know that. So I went into the game. I've been fighting a full-grown adult my entire life, so I was good at fighting. I was a good collector. People that wouldn't pay their drug debts and whatnot had me knocking on their door. And, and then I had my first son. And my boy, the week that he was born, I was trying to figure out, like, okay, I don't really want, it wasn't for me. I probably, had it not been for my son, I probably would not have changed. I was making good money. I had respect. I knew I was going to end up dead or in prison, because that was just the trajectory of all of my friends. And now here it is, all these years later, and most of them are dead or in prison. My little brother has took that path, and he's been out of prison, thank God, for the last 5 years, but spent most of his adult life in prison. And so that was the trajectory I was on. But when I knew I was going to have a son, that kind of spurred something in me, right? And I was like, well, I don't want him to live this life. I don't want this to be his reality. But I didn't know what to do. I had no concept of what direction to go. I had some good people in my life, but they were all afraid of my adopted father. They were afraid of me. They were afraid of the lifestyle. And, I had my grandmother was probably the best influence that I had in my life at the time, my grandfather. And so it was cooking around in my head, sort of like y'all being here, right? Meeting Lauren, being coached by Lauren, learning from Lauren, that something's cooking in your head that you want to change trajectories. And life is not, there's no such thing as flat. It's a downward trajectory or an upward trajectory. And we get to choose. And I'm going to give you some tools to figure out how to control that trajectory in your own life. So anyway, so I was cooking it around in my brain, and I was sitting at the bar with my friend one night, and I said, I don't really want to do this anymore. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, all right, well, whatever. We got a drug dealer going down tonight. And I'm like, all right. So we went out in the parking lot, and I was backup and security for him. He was supposed to do the deal. And I saw a glint on the other side. I knew it was a knife. And so I pushed him out of the way. And as I did, it exposed my chest. And that knife came down. And, if I unzip my shirt, you could see the scar that I've got all the way across my chest. And damn near died. And it was as soon as the knife hit my chest, I was like, there was a Bible verse that popped out, because I would get beat up so bad, my face would be so swollen, I would get put in locked in my room until my face would heal. And my grandma always made sure I had a Bible. Now I wasn't a religious man at all back then, but I did read, I read it as a series of stories. It was just something to think about. And as soon as that knife hit my chest, there was this Bible verse that popped out at me that was the sins of the father are born onto the children. And I was like, if I survive this, my boy's not going to be raised in this environment. And so I switched up. I decided to go a different route. I went and started peeling logs, hand peeling the bark off of logs for $6 an hour. And then I got a raise. I got married and I got a raise to $8 an hour, digging out a sump in the bottom of a mine, which is 3 stories straight down, by the way, stinky, mucky. And I'm down there one day shoveling shit going, people used to fear me, and now I'm down here like shoveling shit at the bottom of a mine. And I'm like, now I got to do something different. And that was when I came across what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. I came across the idea I needed to learn a trade because I didn't graduate from high school. I had nothing but a criminal record to back me up. But I figured out that I could learn a trade, and that trade was laying carpet. I became a journeyman, and then went on and on and on and on. And all these years later, I'll jump sort of to the end of the story. All these years later, I now pretty much full time knock down doors. I grab kids that are being sex trafficked. We take down bad guys. We extract the children. We help domestic violence survivors. We do, I'm CEO of Feed a Billion. I feed people. And I live an amazing life. I mean, Lauren, I've known him for years now. I live an amazing life with amazing people, and I have a lot of choices in my life. And it came down to this realization that there's something out there called business that can produce for you a tool to create your own freedom, right? This business, this whatever it is, you can get it acting, whatever it is that you're going to add value into the world with. If you do it great and you take your game to the next level, you can free yourself. Now, here's the challenge that I've run into, and I've spoken around the world in front of millions of people and met some fantastically amazing human beings. And there's one commonality that I started to see, that I started to realize. And that realization was, if you're playing this game of life, what you're playing it for is for some level of freedom, right? How many of you have thought to yourself, I would just like to have freedom, right? By a show of hands. How many of you thought, I would just like to be free? I'd like to be free of my mental shit. I'd like to be free of my past. I'd like to be, free enough to have enough money in the bank to go do whatever I want, whenever I want. I've got something I know that's in my heart to go serve people, right? We all have, that's a human thing, right? That's a human thing. Everybody that you run into thinks about and is looking for some level of freedom. But the problem is that nobody gives a shit enough to reach into your life and go, what does that even mean? Right? What does that even mean? What does freedom mean to you? Because if we went around to everybody in the room, which I hope you all do at some point in time throughout this trip that you all have put together with Lauren, is to have conversations with each other and say, if this was Mickey's magic wand and I was to wave it over your life to make it the ideal scenario, what does that look like for you? Right? How many of you have actually sat down, grabbed a notepad, and said, you know what? I would love to have a 4-bedroom home. I'd like that to be, paid off. I'd like to have a car. I'd like to be in a relationship. I'd like to be this sort of health-wise. I'd like to be here spiritually. I'd like to be helping this group of people. Like, how many times have you ever done that? And here's what it does: is it takes it out of the realm of I hope my life gets better, right? Lauren will tell you I don't mince words very often, and when you get this lesson that I'm teaching today, it's now transmitted over to you for you to take it and do something with it, because nobody can do it for you. Nobody's coming to rescue you. You can hope all day long and shit's not going to get better. You can sit back and do what the rest of the world does. Blame everybody, take whatever your weakness is that the world has said, bing, you know what? You're gay, you're black, you're straight, you're white, you're Hispanic, you're whatever it is, and go, now, oh good, I get to be the victim of the day. That's not how the world works. There's real victims in the world. Real victims. And they're the ones that have had choice ripped out of their life. The little girls and little boys in the sex trade. Name it. I mean, just you could go down the road. The women, there's every 11 minutes, there's a woman abused in her own home, right, as a prisoner. Every 4 seconds, somebody dies of starvation. And so I think we've showed up into a selfish society. And the only way back out of that is for us to understand it's up to us. So let's talk about that freedom just for a second. Somebody give me, just anybody that's there, tell me what your version of freedom is. Just anybody raise your hand and tell me what freedom looks like for you. Not everybody all at once. This is overwhelming. Tim.
Okay. Yes. So an aspect of freedom for me is to do whatever I want, when I want, with who I want.
Okay. Got it. So how do you measure that?
Yeah. So measuring it in a day-to-day basis of being able to just choose what tasks I get to do. With the work I want to do, the people I want to impact, just having that set, hey, these are the 3 people that I know I'm going to see, and these are what I want to see out of those interactions. And I usually have specific I don't know if this is actually tangible, but I usually have intentions of what I want to specifically work on them with, or what I would love to see from them, or even myself.
Okay, I love that. Thank you, brother. Thanks for sharing. So there's a lot of people. If everybody in the room has a version of what he just said, do what you want with who you want and when you want. If anybody that's got a version of that for your freedom, raise your hand. Okay, pretty much everybody. Now here's the issue, and I'm not picking on you, Tim. I love you, brother. You know I do. But here's what I want everybody to understand is that at the end of the day, it's got to get specific. Right? It has to get specific. Lauren, I think, gets probably the most angry at me when we first got together, because I was like, how do you measure it? How do you measure it? How do you measure it? Right? He's right about purpose driving everything. Whatever you believe spiritually, God, I happen to be a Christian, something's driving from above and put something in your heart to begin the process. But at the end of the day, it's given to you, so now that you have to do something with it. And so, Tim, if you went to the end of your life, right, and not the end of your life, but let's just say the next level, right? When you talk about being able to do what you want with who you want when you want to do it, how do we make that tangible, right? How do we make that tangible? So that means that you're going to have some level of financial freedom. Right? This is the biggest thing that I believe is left out of all of schooling, right? We're taught, well, let's fight over stupid shit. Like, let's fight over, what my sexuality. Let's fight over my skin color. Let's fight over my privilege or not privilege. And let's fight over really stupid shit. And that way, that'll keep everybody distracted. And then we can stay in Washington, D.C. with our gang colors, the stupid blue and the stupid red, right? But they're all so distracted out there fighting over stupid shit that we get to stay in control, right? And we get to pull the strings and make everybody mad at each other. And this is one of the things that I discovered along the way, because I used to be a Democrat. And then I was like, well, this sucks. So I became a Republican, and I'm like, well, this sucks too, And then I became a libertarian, which is basically just government should stay the hell out of our lives, right? And now I'm at this place where I'm like, I'm going to create something new. because none of this shit works for us, the people, right? And one of the biggest things that we're not taught is we're not taught that financial freedom is control, right? We're all here going, let's fight about slavery all these years ago. Let's fight about when you have 10 million children that are enslaved today, right? But they happen to be making things like cell phones and, you know, things that are useful, like Nikes and all these other kind of things. But let's fight about that kind of stuff, and then also not look at our own life and say the government is trying to reel us in by taking more and more of our ability to be able to make money. Okay, I'll share with you a quick story. On our rescue team, there's a bunch of crazy people that you know, we all do this for no money. In fact, I fund a lot of it, and we go and we put ourselves in very dangerous situations. So we had just done an op down in Mexico, and we were sitting at dinner, and one of the pastors that does rescues with us was telling me a story about him just getting back from Cuba, where he sneaks in to Cuba to spread the word of God. He's a Christian pastor. And so he was talking about last time he snuck into Cuba, and he goes, I snuck in, you know, usually meet these group of people, and the main guy wasn't there. And he goes, I asked where he was, and they said, well, he's been arrested. And he was arrested for what? This guy is like, he's straight laced. He does everything by the book. Where is he? Or why did he go to jail? They caught him with 2 chickens. Now, everybody in the room, if you don't think that this can happen in the United States, just look at Venezuela, look at your history, and look what happened. But over in Cuba, if you happen to have your own chickens, that means that you are independent of the centralized government, even that much, and you're going to be punished for it, right? You're going to be punished for it. So he had 2 chickens. They gave him 5 years per chicken, because it represented independent access to capital, independent access away from the centralized government. And so why does this all matter to you in your life? Because until you understand how to break free of the financial chains that they put us in, then we are slaves. We are serfs, right? We are beholden to a system that doesn't work for people like us. We got to break the rules, right? So how many of you are doing something that's earning you money in the room right now? Everybody raise your hand if you're doing something that's earning you money. Great. Now, how many of you own your own business? Show of hands. All right, about half of you. So this message goes to everybody in the room, right? I look at it like it's economic warfare, and all of this other stuff is a distraction. I figured out without graduating high school, I figured out having to go the path that I went, that if I could make enough money, if I could figure out this game of business, because business, by the way, the business, whoever owns a business in there that raised their hand, you're playing the same game that Bill Gates is playing. You're playing the same game that whoever is at the top of your industry. Tim, who is doing it the biggest in your industry? Name a couple.
So thinking Tony Robbins pops up in my mind. Right?
Tony Robbins. Okay. So talk about Tony. It's a clue, right? It's a clue. He already did it. Right. And this is the cool thing about whatever your skin color is, whatever your gender is, whatever your sexual preference is. There's somebody that looks like you and does what you do that has done some shit, right? That has been able, that have freed themselves financially. So you can find models that look like you and speak like you and speak the languages that you speak and all these other kind of things. You can find them, or you could not give a shit about any of that and just find somebody successful and model their behaviors, right? Model their behaviors. So when we're talking about economic freedom, the very first step to that is to get crystal clear. And Tim, I'm just using you because you stepped forward, is to say who I want, where I want, when I want is a cop-out. Because you can't measure it, right? You can't measure it. So I want to challenge everybody in the room today. I don't know how much time Lauren gave me, but I want to challenge everybody in the room today that before your head hits the pillow tonight, to be really clear about your own ideal outcome, your own ideal life, your own ideal situation. What does freedom actually look like to you, right? And it has to be something that can be measured. It has to be, again, I don't know, what's something specific that can be measured? Anybody else in the room, just yell it out. What do you want? If you had this, it would help you with freedom. What is it?
Money.
What was it?
$10 million in 5 years.
Okay, $10 million in 5 years. That's measurable, right? That's measurable. 10 million, she can go out to the future and say $10 million in 5 years. Now she can reverse engineer to where she is today, right? So if we just took, let's see. By the way, everything that is measurable breaks down to math. How many of you are in love with numbers in the room? Okay, me either. I hate them. Some people are they love numbers, but your new mantra should be, I love numbers, numbers love me, because it's the only way you can measure shit. So if we took what she was doing here and we say, okay, let's throw this into a calculator. And that calculator is 365 times 5 years. That is 1825. We take $10 million, divide it by 1825. She needs to make roughly $5,400 a day, right? Roughly $5,400 a day. Now you get into, okay, what can I do? What am I doing to create cash? How do I get it to produce $5,000 a day? You see what I'm saying? Now you're actually fighting the game that she's in. She's like, now you're actually on the field. Because until you do that, until you get a measurement, until you get something that you can write down on a document somewhere and say, okay, reverse engineer, I'm going back from there. I'm here. What do I do? $5,000 a day. Okay, today I made $150. Right? Okay, what did I do to make that $150? All right, well, now I got to do twice that tomorrow. I got to $300. I got to $400. Now you're fighting the fight. Instead of going on social media and going, oh, look at where I am, and oh, look at how important I am, and oh, let me go look in front of a rented Lamborghini and blue, peace, like all this. Now that's all bullshit, right? It's all bullshit. What it is that you get in and you figure out a way to add value way higher, at a higher level than anybody that is competing against you. You fall in love with other people's outcomes. Magic sentence right there. How can I fall in love with other people's outcomes? Because if you do, now you're not thinking about yourself, because anytime you're thinking about yourself, you're miserable, you're upset, you have, all these different issues going on. And by the way, it keeps you broke. So I fall in love deeply. I'll give you another example before I wrap up here. Just recently, because I'm still doing this. I mean, you look at, when you're getting advice and you want to model people, you want to find people that are still in the game, that are doing it. That's why y'all are there with Lauren. He's in the fight, right? He's in the game. You're learning from somebody who's fighting these battles every day, learning himself so that he can then teach to other people the journey of that he's been on. But mine is, I decided about almost 2.5 years ago that I wanted to create a competitor to Amazon.com, right? And I don't know shit about tech, but I had an idea, and I fell in love with a key component, a key area of humanity that's called content creators that are changing the world. And I said, these people are the ones that need to be making money. These people are the people that need to be changing the world. I have got to take my talents. And Lauren met me and knew when I sold all my companies, I could be on an island somewhere kicking back, and my kids, my grandkids, and they're all fine, money-wise. But God brought me back into the fight, because I'm not done, and there's things that have to happen. This conversation that we're having is at the core of that, is that unless all of us band together in this game called business, we're going to be pitted against each other by powerful people that want us to hate each other. And I'm not letting it happen. I know that in a business, Lauren looks like he looks and I look like I look. I can't do a fucking thing about it, and neither can he, right? And so at the end of the day, I have to fall in love with Lauren's outcome to serve him at the highest level that I possibly can, regardless of his skin color, who he loves, like all of these other kind of stupid decisions, right? That is what business does. It levels the playing field, and it makes all of these other issues go away, because in order to succeed in life, the magic is how can I serve more than I did yesterday and more and less than I am going to do tomorrow. You have to become a master of serving other people. And that demands you crushing the weaknesses in your spirit that are selfishness and self-pity and sadness and all of these other things. You've got to become joyful, and you've got to fill yourself with the things of power, with the things of spirit that Lauren so often speaks about. You have to become full of those so that you can get to a place where you're creating $5,000 a day in value to the universe. Not if you switch it just a little bit. Follow me on this, y'all, and I'm going to wrap up. If you switch it just a little bit and say, I have to have $10 million, right? Now, what do I have to do? You're never going to get to $10 million. It's who can I serve? It's whose outcome can I fall in love with? Because a business is only here for 3 reasons. It's here to make people money, it's here to save people money, and it's there to increase or improve their quality of life. That's the only reason that you have a business. Whether you're working in a business, you started a business, you're thinking about a business, those are the only 3 things that they do. So that's the message I wanted to bring today. Again, I know it's not light and fluffy and filled with a bunch of joy, but I can tell you that if you get this and it anchors itself into your heart and begins to modify your behaviors, it will create an entirely new universe for you, your family, the generations that are to come after you, when you decide to master this thing called business. And I'm always here. Lauren knows I'm always accessible, for you to be able to take your game to the next level, because there is some secrets out there, and they didn't want a poor kid, a criminal background with poor family, and criminals as parents and family. They didn't want me to know the secret, and I found out, and I'm telling everybody that's just like me, that has a lot of hope, a lot of guts, and that's my journey that I'm on. So, Lauren, thank you for bringing me in today. I hope I accomplished what you wanted.
I just want to say before Jason leaves, it's been about 7 or 8 years since he put that call out that day. I'll never forget, Jason. Remember how I hung up on you? And he said, "If you ever hang up on me again," that's like spit in my face. And because I thought, he doesn't see me. What he's saying doesn't happen to people like me. That was the year I made $13,000, right, on my own from my business. My husband is a psychotherapist. He's been in private practice this year, is year number 30. This year, because Jason told me something back then when it was 13 grand, I'll never forget it. He said, "Lord, you only need to do 3 things in anything you do and you'll be successful. Find out what people need. Go out and get it. Bring it back and give it to them." And this year, 2022, last year, I out-earned my psychotherapist husband times 4. It was just last year when I was sitting, remember, Jason, when I called you, I said, "Oh my God, I had my first 5-figure week." Then 2 days later, I had my first 5-figure day. Then the next Monday, I had my first 5-figure hour. And then I had 3 of them in a row 2 days later. So when he breaks down Dr. Jan's figures, it is possible. MIO. Most
massively important outcome.
Yes, so you can get up and measure it. I pulled off all my events when I was ready to quit the Power We Symposium. I was like, I can't do it. I'm scared. Da, da, da. I only have 3 months. How much do you need? It was like $180,000. How much is that per day? How many calls does it take to get how much you need per day? And I started doing it. And now the same thing is going to Romania, and the president said, you deserve a Lifetime Achievement Award for your work. That very gift, the power of exposing. So I'm telling you, Jason, where's the best place for people to find you?
JasonCisneros.com.
Yeah, and just go in and take a look. He's got all kinds of things. He changes the lives of people around the world in ways that he hasn't even mentioned here today. And still does all this other stuff. So I'm telling you, I couldn't be more grateful and more honored to introduce somebody I love to a group of people that are people I love. That's what it's about. So, Jason, thank you again. I'll see you at your wedding in a couple months.
Yes, we ran it through the Mio process. By the way, we sat down and because I was watching the wedding get put together, and I'm like, no, I only know out of one way to do shit, and it's to measure it. So we sat down, and Emily was like, "Oh my God, that's just so much easier." So
throwing it together, it works across the board. So
it does.
Thank you. I'll make sure we're gonna put together a resource list of everything from the weekend. And you'll be at the top of it. So
Lauren, before I go, I just want everybody to know and understand that when this man speaks, he speaks from a place of being on the journey that y'all are on. I've watched it. I've watched every step, and him and I have gone toe to toe. We have screamed at each other. He's hung up on me. Only did that once because I told him not to do it again. but we have, and Lauren, at dinner or something, if you can show them my favorite picture of us, if you could dig that out at some point and show them, we were looking at you. You'll see in the picture, we're just like staring at each other, like, what? Say one more word, bitch. Like you can see, and I want you to know that I'm proud of you, and that people should listen to you and should follow you because you eat your own dog food. You do the shit that you're teaching, and it works. So I just want everybody to hear that from somebody who definitely admires you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Once again, that's time for Jesus.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.
So
Enjoy the rest.
Yep. All my love to Emily.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
same to Brian.
I will. Let me see. Now, oh yeah, I need to go down here. There we go. All right. So, hi, Lisa. So you're still backstage. You're so funny. Oh, so if you get ready to pull Pastor Reverend Randy, come up here. Reverend Randy. Divine timing. Once again, how we all got here. This is important at this point. As early as 3 weeks ago, as recently as 3 weeks ago, Dr. Jan, Fallon, who you saw, Tim, Tracy, and Stephanie, who can argue, myself, Tim, of course, we're headed to this town to be a part of an event that's somewhere around here. But it moved outside of integrity. It started doing things that we said we will never step inside that square because it is not within integrity. But it's never about one thing. And I just want everybody to know, you're not here by accident. These two guys found us on Eventbrite. It was only on Eventbrite for 4 days. So when I look at them, I have to look and I go, what is so wonderful that's coming for you? That everything works to put you in this space right now. I cannot wait until we finish here today to find out what spoke to you, because it is a divine reason that you both are here. It is not coincidence. It is not luck. Something wonderful is around that corner for you and you and you and you, all of us. So just last week when I was in St. Louis speaking, and I met Randy, and we started talking, and he comes from the same kind of background as Jason, as far as extremely successful, millions and millions of dollars. And he's not the first one. My friend Mark Hattis, you know him, millions and millions of dollars. People who say, you know what? We thought it was all about that money, and then they get it, and they go, something happens. And I think we all need to be prepared for that. Seriously, I never saw that kind of money coming for me. Now that it has, I feel a universal urgency about what I do with it. Because all we do is we write down our plans to what is greater than us. I do this all the time. And I'll say, okay, when you give me what I ask, here's what I'm going to do with it. And that means flexibility. Because you get there and it's like, yeah, you can do that. Because it's never about one thing, but you need to do this too. And that's what this man is going to speak to us about today. How to be flexible all the way to the very last moment of this journey. Because your purpose is going to change, just like everything else except the truth. So put your hands together for Rev Randy. I'm going to move.
I know we have people watching online, but I'm going to speak to you guys because you guys are the ones that came here today, and you guys are the ones that are present. And I just want to start off today by just having you say this with me: this or something better.
This or something.
I want you to say, he was talking earlier about dominion. I want you to take dominion in this. I want you to say this or something better.
Yes.
Or something better.
So what do you want out of life? I want this or something better. What do you need out of life? I need this or something better. You see, what we don't realize is sometimes we get in our own damn way. Sometimes we have this idea of what we want or what we need or what we require, and we are limiting what is actually available to us. The name of your conference today is Awakening the Abundant Master Within. And so the way I awaken the abundant master within me is by reminding myself who I am. So I'm going to do that, and I hope you'll just allow me to do that. And I do that by just saying, I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit and the whole spirit that I am of love, life, abundance, and truth. Because what we have to understand is we live in a world that seems like duality. You see, I often say to people, you are not human beings having a spiritual experience. You are spiritual beings having a human. And sometimes we allow our humanness to supersede that which is the only thing that is true, is that we are spirit being or spirit moving or spirit causing. And I say being, moving, and causing because it's the essence of what we are. So how many of you are exactly where you want to be in life right now? Raise your hand. Okay, we got one hand raised. Out of this whole group, we had one hand raised saying, I'm exactly where I want to be right now. My question is, can you be anywhere else? Right now, in this moment, can you be anywhere else? So if you're not happy if you're not in the best place you can possibly be right now, you are living a life of anxiety and depression. Now, when I walked in the room this morning, I was in the now moment, the present moment. And when you're in the now moment or the present moment, you have access to things that in our humanness, you cannot gain access to. I walked in this room and I felt the heaviness of the room. And I started hearing and feeling and sensing most of your stories. Because I was here and I was present to what was, not present to what I needed it to be. I didn't walk in here with any expectations of where it would go or what I would leave behind, because I knew that I was in the isness or the business of being who I am. And when you're in the isness or the business of being who you are, that is the only way you can awaken the abundant master within you. So let's talk about the abundant master. You see, I live a life where most people are in four sets of consciousness. The first set of consciousness is victim consciousness. Why is this happening to me? To equate it with the Bible, it's as if Jesus was on the cross and he said, why me? Thy will be done, meaning that I'm a victim here, just to allow whatever is to happen to happen. And many people right now, even in this room, are in that victim mindset. So I want you to say, today I take power of my life.
Today I take power of my life.
Today I take power of what is.
Today I take power of what is.
Today I accept everything for what it is.
Today I accept everything for what it is.
So those are just words until you put them into action. But what those words can do is they can free you. They can move you from the victim mindset to the victor mindset. You see, you can either say, why is this happening to me? Or I'm going to make what I need come my way. And for some, that's as far as they get. They go from being a victim to being a victor. Oh my God, I won. I finally got the paycheck I was after. I finally got the beautiful girl I was after, or the beautiful guy I was after. I finally have the house. I finally have the picket fence. I finally have the kids. I finally have everything. But here's my thing. You are never, ever, ever going to reach your destination, because your destination is always one stop away. You are in a flight in this life right now, that you are living in this life, and this flight has many different stops along the way. And so most of us think, oh, if I can just get from A to B, you'll never get there, because there's places to go along the way. So what I want you to do is to move from victim to victor, but then I want you to take the next step. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Or I'm in control of everything that happens to me. You can move to the next level, which is the vessel mindset. Everything happens through me. If you want love in your life, I'm going to invite you to be love in your life. If you want abundance in your life, I'm going to ask you to be abundant in your life. You see, I used to think it was about the number of zeros in my bank account. I used to think it was, what do I need? What do I want? What do I want to establish to be able to say that I finally made it? It was Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving, and I decided that I was going to go buy what has always eluded me, which is the biggest television I could buy. You see, at the time, the standard was to buy a 65-inch or 75-inch television. But I decided I was going to buy myself a 100-inch television. It had all the bells and whistles. I had been looking for it forever. And it was going to cost me a lot of those zeros that were in my bank account. But I left the house that morning with one rule, and I don't care what it costs. I'm getting it, I'm bringing it home. I don't care what it costs. I'm getting it, and I'm bringing it home. And I remember as I was going to that big box store with the blue sign outside and the yellow letters, I said to myself, you know what? I can see it. And then I pulled in, and they weren't open yet. They opened in 20 minutes. So I said, I got time for a bagel, I got time for coffee, and I got in my car and I started driving down the street, and there she was. You see, it was about 20 degrees in Kansas City. It was freezing rain coming down. The roads were slick, but I was bound and determined to get what I want, was that big screen television. But then I saw her, and I thought to myself, what the hell is wrong with that woman? And why is she out here with those kids with no coats on? Doesn't she know better than that? What kind of mother would do that to her kids? And then it hit me, yeah, what kind of mother would do that to her kids? So I decided to stop. I said, are you okay? And she says, oh, I'm fine. I said, is there anything I can help you with? Oh, no, I don't even know you. And I'm like, but that's okay. Is there anything I can help you with? She says, no, I don't need anything. Keep moving, go along, move along. And I said, man, there's obviously something wrong here. And she says, okay, well, can I just use your phone? I just need to call somebody that I know. Can I use your phone? And I said, sure. And so she started dialing numbers on my phone, and she must have been getting voicemail after voicemail after voicemail. Mind you, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And as she started making calls, I realized that something about her was changing. So I said, can you just tell me what's wrong? And she said, well, me and the kids ran out of gas on the highway. And if I could just get some gas and get back to the car, we're going to be okay. And automatically, my mind went, don't get fooled. She's obviously just trying to take some money from you. She's obviously trying to scam you. She's obviously trying to hustle you. And I said, well, man, I'm not giving you any money, but I'm willing to get you the gas and put it in your car. Because one, I wanted to see if she really needed gas. 2, I wanted her to prove to me that she really had a car. And 3, I wanted to really know that she had run out of gas and she wasn't scamming me. I wasn't going to be hacked. And she said, once again, I don't need your help. I don't need your money. Can you just sit with me for a moment until somebody calls back? And I said, ma'am, it's cold outside. I've got things that I need. There's things I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm going to be late, but once again, I will take you to the gas station. I will give you the gas, and I will take you to your car. And she said, okay. And she got in the car with me, and we drove to the gas station. That was 2 or 3 blocks down the road. We got the gas, and I was now feeling a little bit better about myself because I was actually doing something positive. You see, I'd forgotten all about the big screen television. I forgot about what I was set out to do because I knew in this moment I was in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit or the whole Spirit of love, light, and truth. And we got to her car, and it was legitimately on the highway. We got to her car, and it was legitimately broke down. As a matter of fact, the back 2 windows were broke out. Mind you, it's 20-something degrees outside. So I got out of the car, and I said, let me pour it in for you. So I hit the trunk and started pouring in the gas, and the 2 little kids jumped in the back seat of the car, and when they jumped in, that's when I saw it. There was peanut butter and jelly jars in the back seat of the car. There were half-drank gallons of water, and I realized they had been living in their car. And I said, ma'am, you have to let me help you. There's got to be something I can do. And she said, I don't need your help. And I said, well, let me help the kids then. And she said, okay, what can you do? I said, let's go and get some coats and some blankets and some shoes and some socks. And let me try to find you a place to stay because this is not working for me. And she said, why would you do this? Why would you ask me this? And I said, because I'm you. And you're me and we're one. And if I don't, this is my everything today. This is the one thing that will get me to where I need to be today. Let me do it. And she said, okay. So we went and we bought the socks and we bought the underwear and we bought shoes and we bought coats. And I even took the kids to the toy aisle and I said, pick anything out. And they picked some things out and I was feeling really good. And I said, well, it was really nice to meet you. And she said, yeah, it was really nice to meet you too. I don't know why you did this. And then my phone rang. So I answered it. And the voice on the other line said, you called this number? And I said, no, I didn't call your number, man. She said, well, somebody called this number over and over this morning, and I want to know who it is. And then it hit me. I said, do you know Sandy? And she said, yeah, that's my daughter. What has she gone and done now? If she owes you money, I'm not paying. I said, ma'am, no. She's sitting right here next to me, and she wants to talk to you. And Sandy was like, but I knew that I had to make the connection, so she took the phone and she said, no, we're okay. And then her voice changed from a 30-something-year-old woman to like a 7-year-old little girl. And she said, Mommy, you were right. Yeah, he kicked us out again. Yeah, he was, and I won't go into the story about what he was doing to his children. And they kept talking, and she said, can I come home, Mommy? And then the voice must have changed because she started to smile and she said, I'm going home. And I thought to myself, yay. And she said, my mom wants to talk to you. And I took the phone and in talking to the mom said, you're an angel. I don't know where you came from. I said, I was never the angel in this situation. Your daughter was the angel. And she said, I hadn't talked to her in 7 years. I don't know how you found her. I don't know why you found her, but you're in the right place at the right time. I said, yes, I am. And she went home and I didn't think much about it. But one thing I knew in that moment was I didn't get the big screen television. You see, the money I was going to spend, I spent in other ways. But just because I didn't get the big screen television doesn't mean I didn't see the bigger picture. Because in that moment, my life changed forever. You see, this one moment of helping someone else, about not worrying about how many zeros were because I had enough of them. You see, so many of us are walking around in our lives right now thinking, I've had enough. I've had enough of frustration. I've had enough of depression. I've had enough of anxiety. I've had enough of other people's expectations. I've had enough of this life. And I'm here to tell you, yeah, you always had enough. And you will always have enough. And you've always been enough, and you will always be enough. Yes, you've had enough the entire time. It's just that you thought you didn't have enough because you weren't able to see it overflow, because so many of us have it, but we're not allowing it to overflow. That story led into so many other stories. that blessing led into so many other blessings. You see, this was a Friday afternoon, but I realized in that moment my entire life had changed. The next Monday morning, I walked into my office. And my business partner was waiting because I was an hour late. I was normally the first person there. I'd get there at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I was a slave until 8 o'clock at night. Because I was never going to let somebody outwork me. I was never going to let somebody out-earn me. I was never going to let somebody outshine me, because that was my motive of operation before I saw the big picture. I remember telling my business partner I'm selling the business. And he said, well, why are you doing that? And I said, because it's the right thing to do. You don't need this anymore. As Lauren says, what no longer serves you. You see, in that moment, I realized I was a slave, not to someone else, but I was a slave to a way of thinking. You see, I was a slave to the idea that I wanted to have so much money that I could spend a week in Miami and a week in Kansas City and a week in St. Louis. I wanted to have so much money that I could, somebody said it earlier, I could do what I wanted, with who I wanted, when I wanted. And then I decided to give it all away. I called my employees in and I said, anybody that's been here more than 7 years, you're dividing 50% of the company. If you've been here 7 years or more, you're getting your percentage of the company. The other 50% will be sold, and my business partner decided he was going to be the one to buy it. And that company still exists today, and it's very flourishing today. But I'm telling you, the greatest business decision I ever made was to realize that I never have to earn abundance. It's that I am abundant. I never have to equate it to a biblical phrase, ask and the door will open. Seek and you shall find. I'm here to tell you that you don't need to seek anything. You just have to remember who you are. And the reason why when we seek, we find is because it's always been here. You don't need to look any further than right here. And see, that's the last piece. I talked to you about being a victim. I talked to you about being a victim. I even talked to you about being a vessel, and that's what I was doing in this portion of my life. I was allowing spirit or God or Buddha or love or energy or divine or presence. I don't care what you call it. I'm here to tell you there's one presence and there's one power in your life. And you can call it by whatever name you want. But it's always working for your good. And when you realize that, you move from victim to victor. Victor to vessel. And then vessel to verity. And verity means truth. So I never say to myself, is this good or is this bad? I say, is this true? And if it's true, it can't change. The truth never changes. Say that with me. The truth never changes. Say it like you mean it. The truth never changes. And here's what I know about the truth. I know that when I go back to what I said when I began, this or something better, I was stuck in the this. I was never open to something better. Because after I sold my business, the zeros in my accounts diminished. But then I started meeting people and greeting people and seeing people, not in their humanness, but in their spiritual reality. And then what I noticed is that everyone I met became part of the oneness, the allness, the truth that I live. And because of that, I have this, and I have something better. You see, when I told you that I gave it all away, I gave away everything that was false. I gave away anything that changes, but I held on to what was true, that which never changes. I started this out by saying we're spiritual beings living a human existence. I want to push that a little farther and say we are absolute beings living a relative existence. And the amount of zeros in your bank account is relative. Because I'm telling you that no zeros in your bank account will buy your happiness. I know so many people that have more zeros than I can count, but they're miserable every day. I know so many people that have more zeros than I can count, but they're worried every day. I know so many people that are so concerned about the zeros in their account that they've never been allowed to be the one that they always have been. So I'm going to encourage you today to go from being a zero or a counter of zeros or beholden to zeros to simply being the one. And when you are in verity, when you are in truth, you realize that there is no separation. You see, the young lady that I met, when I said to her, I am you, you are me, we are one, that was my epiphany. Because I realized that if one of us is shackled, none of us are free. I realized that if anybody is lacking, then I must be lacking too, because it's never been about me. I'm happy to say that I gave it all away, but I have so much more today because of it. You see, the zeros in my bank account now are more than they've ever been. But you know what that allows me to do? It allows me to open up houseless shelters around the country. 2 nights ago, I was sitting in Kansas City, Missouri, with 167 houseless people who had a place to live, food in their bellies, a check. In the last 90 days, I've written over $500,000 worth of checks to houseless people so they have some place to live, or they can get out of a gas bill, or they can move past the fact that they don't know where their next meal is coming. But it was never me writing the check. It was Spirit writing the check every time. And people always giggle and they laugh when I tell them that I'm giving away more money now than I ever earned when I was in the rat race. Because if you do what you love, if you do what you're called to do, Spirit always provides the truth. And the truth is you are abundant beyond belief. So this is not about awakening the abundant master within you. This is about knowing that you've been asleep. The abundance has always been there. And it will always be there. So it's not the abundance that needs to be awakened, it's you. And I hope something I said here today has awakened you. Something I've said here today has stirred you. Something I've said here today has moved you. And I want you to know that for me, abundance is defined as having enough. I have time enough. I have wisdom enough. I have love enough, and I have life enough to put myself in every room I belong in, with every person I belong to be with, and to say the things I need to say. I'm going to leave you with one thing today. And if it's the only thing I leave you with, I hope that you keep it and you guard it and you hold it as true. Every morning when you wake up, I invite you to ask yourself 5 questions. What am I being called to be? What am I being called to do? Where am I being called to go? What am I being called to say, and to whom? I'll say those again. What am I being called to be? What am I being called to do? Where am I being called to go? What am I being called to say, and to whom? It would have been very easy for me to stay at my condo on the beach in Miami. I'm not that far away. And not show up here today. But I knew when Lauren asked me, hey, I've got something coming up. And I said, I've got to be in Kansas City on Saturday. I can't be there. And he said, you can't get a late flight? And I said, let me pray on it. And I said to myself, what am I being called to be? And what I was being called to be is here. What was I being called to do? I was coming to speak to 1 or 2 or 3 of you. Not to all of you. Because I'm in the presence of pure being, and I know that some of you are struggling just this very morning. I say this not to call you out, because I won't call you by name, but I know one of you held a razor in your hand in the last 2 weeks, or I know what to do with it. I want you to know you're enough. You're enough, you're enough, you're enough. I promise you you're enough. And I can promise you this, if you live in the truth, it always gets better. So I don't care where you're at right now. I don't care what you're struggling with, put it down, because you know what? The struggle is not real. But the truth will always be real. So say to me, the truth is, I am enough. I have enough. I give enough. I receive enough. Because it's the truth of my being. So I let go of, and Jason, if you're watching, I let go of measuring. I let go of mathematics, and I just trust in what is. Because it will always come your way if it's yours. Nothing that's meant for you will get by you. My question is, you just have to have a bucket big enough to hold on to it. And most of us are walking around with a bucket that's about that size. So expand your bucket today. Expand your bucket today. Expand your bucket today. Because I promise you, everything that's being poured in has always been meant to be poured out into other people. Thank you.
I just want to say, oh, goodness gracious, right? It's so incredible that I have met 3 men who made more money than I thought I could ever dream possible. When I say millions, I don't mean a couple or 3 or 4. Double digits, 10s, 20s, and 30s. And every last one of those 3 gave it away or is in the process of giving it away. And they all say the same thing. Yeah, Jason measures. Randy does not. What does that mean? I'm not the person with the numbers. You know, I'm in Jason's growth program, but I only take the words that I can use. And when they get to the charts and all that, I'm gone. But it still has worked and it still is working. So I hope you all really understand. I got with you, I was there in that space when you were talking about the people, how each of you, this is the thing. My mother on her deathbed, we were separated the first 2 years of my life. And I waited in the corner while my other siblings were in there saying their goodbyes. They actually turned her to face the wall when they left that room as if, I don't know, maybe I wasn't coming in. But she heard my voice and she flipped over. She flipped over so violently, her arm went on the outside of the bed rail and I had to pick it up and put it back in. And she said to me, all those years ago when you knocked on my door, I told you that I would one day die a happy woman because you found me. She goes, that time is now. She goes, but I've seen where God is taking you. And it's wonderful, but it's going to break your heart over and over and over. And I said, well, why? If it's so wonderful. She said, because your gift of getting glimpses into other people's greatness, what will break your heart is how few of them will believe what you told them you have seen. And so what Randy said about, I'm not going to call you out, but I know that gift. And I know that no one in this room is here by mistake. There are some of you in here who there's no way you could fathom what the world will know you as one day when you are no more. But I believe that every person in here has something inside their possession in that bucket that if you make it bigger and you give it away, the world will know something about you. And it'll be that something that can never be forgotten because it will be on the tongues and the lips of mankind for thousands of years. But it will only be here if you leave it. So believe it and then leave it for the world to find. Trust me. Trust Randy. But more importantly, trust yourself. We're going to take a brief break so you can go to the bathroom, get something to drink, and then we're going to come back for Tim Chung. And then after that, that'll take care of the live stream. Hi, everybody. Then we're going to get on the hot seat and get some work done so people can move everything that needs to be moved from here to there. The distance between point A and point B is this. Point A is where you're at. Point B is the next moment right after where you're at. We'll be back in just a few. Don't go away. Okay. Oh, my picture's on there. Okay, we'll be back. I'm gonna mute it. You guys out there, just come back in 10 minutes. I'm going to introduce Tim. Okay, everybody. All right. No, I can never do that. Tim Chung, mindset coach. I had the pleasure of meeting Tim. You heard a little bit of the story through Adolfo Carrillo, and one of the greatest guys I've ever met, a true leader. And we wouldn't be here today without him. He put a lot of this together thanks to his team and all of them, every one of these people. So get ready to get poured into by Tim Chung, mindset coach.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, love you guys, and everyone that's watching this stream. I love you too. If I haven't met you yet, please reach out. If I have met you, let's reconnect. But anywho, so this weekend was a pretty big deal. I've been thinking about it for a long time because it was supposed to be my first speaking event at a different event. And it happened so I ended up throwing my own event right before, and this is where we are here now. So being able to be flexible and make something work really opened up a lot of things for me. And being able to see some of my loved ones here and my friends, people I work with, and my clients just come all the way to Miami last minute like this, it means the world. And I've practiced talking so I can prepare. And what caught me off guard last night was I came into this space to a birthday cake, and everyone was like, speech. And I'm just like, and for someone that's very quick and quick on my feet, but then also in my brain too, I just said, thanks guys. Or I just said, I appreciate it. And I'm just like, I didn't make it sound more meaningful, but honestly, it's because I was really speechless because I appreciate it so much. And it's gonna get out goofy, but there's just a lot of love in the room, and we're able to make something work. So honored to be here. I would love to tell you guys a story, but before we jump into it, a lot of you guys know me very well here, so I'm going to ask for some participation. So I do a lot of random, crazy, fun things. I run around a lot. I climb things. I eat a lot of food. What's something that you would love to do with me? You can just climb. Sure. Wait, what did you say? Did you say crime? Why?
I feel like you would snitch on me.
I'm trustworthy, okay. I wouldn't snitch on you. And we wouldn't even get caught, so. Okay. This is being recorded, broadcasting. But moving forward, what else is something fun you'd love to do with me? Hike. Yes, big hiker. Alinea. So Alinea is a fine dining restaurant in Chicago. It's like $400 per person, something like that. It's like a 2-hour experience. I'm a big foodie, and eating together, that would be amazing. Okay, one more thing. What's something you would love to do with me? Burning Man. Yes, it's been a childhood dream. And not only am I super expressive with art and just being free out in the middle of the wilderness, but it's just something that's always been in my mind. Thank you guys for sharing. So the reason I bring that up is because I found a lot of things I love to do, and I've always, no matter who you are, what you look like, how you act, how you dress, whatever it is, I love diversity and bring everyone in. And I always make sure everyone's included because everyone has their own value to give. And also, I've definitely felt definitely felt moments where I didn't feel so included, or even just so different. Where just I'm gonna hide. I'm just not gonna say anything for a while. And the story I want to tell you guys is a pretty wild journey of something that I grew up with. And if you guys ever If you guys think back to when you were like a teen and you felt all those emotions, all those hormones raging inside, you know it's pretty crazy. It's very crazy. And a funny thing that happens back in the day is that we get all sweaty and nervous and we start dating. Dating, I know. And then we start embarrassing ourselves. We start thinking about people. We're like, oh my God, I'll die without this person. And we haven't even talked to them yet. It's just like, what is going on? So this is about my very first relationship. And with my first relationship, it was one of the coolest things ever because I love food. I would binge eat everything I could. Free food, Costco free samples, all over that because I was a teenager. And like, you know, Mickey D's, I'll get like 10 McChickens. And then like I'll eat that with my friends and stuff. But when I got in this relationship, I got to do all these fun things with the other person. I would eat things, I would climb things, I would explore things. And I honestly didn't give a fuck what anyone thought. And I had the most amazing time. But as we all know, there's a honeymoon phase, right? Then things start feeling routine, some stuff happened. And the interesting thing was, as much as it was us two against the world, it started really feeling like the world against us. So what does that mean? There are moments where my friends were like, come on, let's hang out, or let's do this or this. And then whatever I wanted to do, whether it was climb something or run around, like, you know, do weird stuff, eat 10 McChickens, they're just like, oh no, that's weird. What are you doing? Why are you doing these things with your partner? And I'm just like, sure. And I'll go along and do what they wanted to do. There are moments my parents were like, why aren't you studying? And I know I'm Asian, so sure, they'll say that, but I'll be like, I don't want to study. I want to go climb and eat stuff. I want to run around in circles. I want to build something. I want to dig a hole. I was one of those kids. And I wanted to spend a lot of time like with my significant other, you know? That was pretty much the only thing that was important to me. Like, just spend more time with my significant other. Nothing else matters. This is where I feel best. I want to do these fun things. Yet it really felt like more and more, like my parents, my friends, society, school, they gave me so much attention. I was in school so much. And they were trying to get me to do other things I did not want to do. And sure, maybe I should have applied myself in school a little bit more. Yeah, I should have definitely applied myself in school a little bit more. But in reality, I was vibing. I want to be left alone. I want to do those fun things I want to do. The messed up part was that the more and more I heard it, everywhere I went, the louder and louder it got, and the smaller I became. I started hating my significant other. I started pushing the other person around into what I thought a relationship would look like. And just being vulnerable with you guys, that's not okay. But I was a kid. I knew I loved this person, and I knew they loved me, but we started living for the idea of other people had onto us. So I had to look a certain way. All those McChickens, they did not make me look like what I should look like, what we should look like. All the activities we were doing were very dangerous. They weren't school related. They weren't exactly what we needed to do. And although it was fun for us, it was wrong. We should be quiet and stay still. We should be quiet and do normal things. We should go to dinner and a movie. We should just watch TV together. We should just essentially just sit. And as you can see right now, I'm not someone that just sits. If I sit, I'm passing out. Like literally. And the thing that really made it worse and worse was the abuse. When that started kicking in the relationship. When we felt wrong, we feel small and we feel broken. that's when shit gets really dark. That's when the mental abuse happen with the verbal. 10 big chickens, you're a fat piece of shit. Eating late at night, a ton of cereal, what's wrong with you? No one else does this. Everybody knows you don't eat after 10. Not eating breakfast. I was like, I gotta eat something because like it's supposed to make me smart or something. I would force feed myself in the morning and be like, oh no, I ate too much. Or if I wanted to go like dig a hole or something, or go on a hike, just something simple. It was just like, no, we don't do that. We're not supposed to do that. It's not what I'm supposed to do. And as much as like I tried to make both work, I felt like I was getting pulled apart. And what my significant other, the way they took it was just telling me that I was wrong, telling me I wasn't enough, telling me that there was something wrong with my brain, that I needed to change different stuff. All the expectations of like what I was, not good enough, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, I should do this, I should do this, all these endless lists, until it became smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And this self-expressive kid before that relationship turned mute. I stopped talking to people. Little stuff here and there. I had long emo hair covering my face, out of lip ring. I was listening to all these angry songs, all these sad songs of being broken and nobody understanding and just being like, F you, mom and dad, you don't get me. And as much as I had that rebel spirit, a part of me believed them. And then that's when the physical abuse started happening. Blood. My significant other just screaming at me with that verbal abuse. The fist to the head. Fist to the wall. Head to the wall. A lot of brain damage. I don't even know. And even moments where it got really dangerous where I could have died. Because as a teenager, we start driving. And the only thing we get to do is just drive around. That's all there is to do, right? We're not old enough to do anything yet. So in that cycle of that verbal beat down, the physical beat down, getting behind the wheel, getting introduced to drugs, alcohol, all at once. I remember where the talks started becoming, why are you here? Like, why are we both here? Everything's so pointless. Watching the news, seeing everything was saying, everything I was doing, everything we were doing together was wrong. So what's the point of continuing? And I remember a specific moment. There were 2 different times where my partner not just encouraged, but walked me through ending my life. And the one that sticks out the most was the last one. It wasn't successful. I'm here now. But it was a time where I was freshly out of high school as a high school dropout. So especially in a Korean household, that's not okay. In a suburban part of Chicago where I'm from, very irregular. I was the only dropout that I knew. And a few friends I had stopped talking to us, all that stuff. It was a pretty dark time. I remember drinking a handle of Jack and then some other stuff, but it pretty much became a blur after. Getting in the car, partner beside me, we were just not coherent. And I was a crazy driver. Very crazy driver. Might still be a little bit, but behind the influence of alcohol, just imagine how much worse it could be. And I don't know if anyone's had any random crazy thoughts of just, what would happen? Well, I know what would happen, but what if I just off a cliff. And for me, sadly, it wasn't a joke. My partner was encouraging it and pushing it. Said, fucking end it. Your life is fucking worthless. Done now. Screeching, horn, loud crash. It was just dark. I felt something though, this pounding headache. And I remember looking up, pulling down the mirror up top, above my head, flipping upward in the mirror, looking into my own eyes, and looking into my partner's eyes. And when I share this story about the significant other, it wasn't another person. I'm talking about the relationship I had with myself. And before we begin a relationship with anyone, we're actually always starting and stuck with our own. We have it, whether we recognize it or not, our self-relationship is always there. And that kid that used to love binge eating, laughing, goofing around, not doing schoolwork, but then like climbing stuff, having the best time of his life, he got to a point where he stopped talking to people, he had crazy, crippling anxiety, so much depression from all the mental and physical abuse they kept putting on himself. And I remember looking at myself and like, I'm still alive. Why? But the difference was I started to think about why I'm still here. What's the purpose? And I figured if I'm still here and there's some sort of reason, why not at least kind of find out? And that led me to ask the right questions. Like a week later, I remember playing a lot of video games and sitting in my room and be like, what do I actually want? And I found that as much pain I'm in, there are a lot of people that have it worse in the world. Tons of people have it even worse than I did. A suburban kid, yeah, lower class, but I had food, I had a place to stay, I could play video games. I should be able to figure it out. And I knew that since people were in a worse place, maybe I'm here to at least help the people in the worse places. Maybe I can give food to the homeless. Maybe I can add some sort of value. Then I very soon realized I've been pushing myself down, making myself so small for so long, I couldn't even talk to people. So how am I gonna help them? I didn't have any money, I was broke. How am I gonna help them? So I realized, I guess if it came to it, I'm gonna help myself. And then as I help myself, I can help others. So I'm like, okay, do more for myself, do more for others. That was the main message in my head. And at that time, being a high school dropout, broke financially, broke in the head, broke physically, broke socially, broke spiritually, broke in every way I could think of, going ground up. I'm like, okay, only ways to go up, only ways to go up. And I told myself that for a while, which made me be like, damn, how much do I keep going up and down, back to broke? But what I ended up figuring out is that success really does leave clues. And I found myself some powerful mentors that taught me how to grow out of that ground bottom. So I'm going to teach you an acronym today. 4 letters. First one starts from the ground floor. And I want you to think of G for ground. And as much of a dark place I was in, what most people don't realize is that like when we are in a dark place, most people think we've been buried, but it's not the case at all. We've been planted. When we have life, no matter where we are, above ground or underground, we have the opportunity to grow. The thing about the ground level and floor with that acronym is that we have to nourish that. We have to put our shit in the right places. Shit in fertilizer, shit in just in an environment that someone can really sprout. And what that looks like is like what's around us. What's the dirt really nourishing us? What's our environment? Where do we live? Who's around us? So usually we're in a place where it just happens. We end up where it just happens to put us. But I highly, highly encourage to get some quality soil in there. Quality soil, quality people, quality space for safety, and also for a room for us to grow in, where we don't feel like we're always in fight or flight. Quality like moisture. And what that really looks like is like, who's your 5 people closest to you? And if you guys are like, in this world of personal growth, how many times have you heard it? Yet how much are we not taking care of it? Whether you remove yourself from people that aren't helping you grow, or whether you're just alone in solitude, or you show up in places where you should be, but then you sit in the corner. You're not becoming best friends with the people that you want to become like. And that's one of the first things that I did. I didn't have anyone. I didn't know anyone, but I found a mentor that gave me a little bit of his time and told me that. And because I couldn't make friends right away, I just listened to podcasts of the people I wanted to be, the people I wanted to like be right next to. I had them talking in my ears. I was reading the books that they wrote down of all their experiences, their thoughts, all their stuff. And I downloaded all of those until I had the courage enough to go talk to people talking the same way. And that's when things started happening really fast. So taking care of the ground level with books, podcasts, and then eventually networking and meeting people changed everything. That's when I really got to build deep roots. It started coming out of the ground. That's when my income started going up. That's when I started acting differently. That's when I wouldn't get stressed about working 20 hours a week. I started working 40 for months. That's when things started really going upwards really fast. And it was always that check of that ground level, like who am I around, where's my environment? And personally, it wasn't safe in my environment at home either. So I did remove myself. Sometimes I slept in my car, sometimes I slept wherever. I made something where I moved out, made it work, and got the right people in my life. And after the ground level, the second acronym is R, for real food. And it kind of goes into like the nourishment of like the ground level. What are we putting into our brains and bodies? And you would have heard this a lot if you're in the personal development like field too. Like what kind of stuff are we listening to, watching? There are a lot of things back in the day that I put in my body and also in my mind that was just junk food. That didn't actually give me anything, that just took a lot of time out of me. And whether it was the 10 big chickens, can I say chicken? I'm gonna just say chicken sandwich. So not put a brand out there. Yeah, 10 chicken sandwiches I would consume started turning into real veggies. I even tried out being a raw vegan once. Then I'm like, let's find a good balance with like really high quality foods. And I got into different antioxidants, the micronutrients that I needed, the macronutrients I needed. This things just felt so much better. And it doesn't mean I didn't eat a chicken sandwich once in a while. I think I had one a few days ago. But overall, I started giving myself real nutrition majority of the time that helped me really think faster, think bigger, help me move faster. And like, this is why I want to move so fast. And also be really efficient with my time. And when it comes to like the mental stuff I put in my brain, what I was reading and listening to, it were the things that were going to help me for the better. It would always teach me. No worries, it's okay. Yeah, so I would always put those in. And to take it to the next level too, I would have a feast of information and a feast of personal growth health. And those were a lot of the immersions I went to and conferences. So if you've heard of like Tony Robbins, or if you've heard of different like personal development events, even this mastermind here, having a portion where I can shake up my daily routines to give myself good, healthy food, to hang around the right people, and also learn the things that will help me get better, Like whether it's 3 days, 1 day, a week, just getting out of the norm and immersing myself into where I want to be and what that should look like, that fueled me. That helped me grow so much faster. So remember, real food. Yes? Okay. And going from real food into the third acronym, or third letter, O, it's the obstacles that come with. Yeah, you can be around the right people, you can eat the right things, feed yourself the right way, but there are always obstacles. Things get in your way. If you think like a plant, with the analogy I gave you about being planted and growing from the ground, branches break. There are rocks in the dirt. There are, if you're in real estate too, sometimes the roots you're growing are inconvenient for plumbing, so they chop you up and rip you out. It just happens. But what can we do to grow around those? Understand things are gonna like get in our way, but we keep growing bigger and bigger. For a time, I farmed. And something that one of my biggest learnings from farming was, it's kind of really beautiful. The plants that were growing would actually be so much stronger when I would purposely start breaking some of the branches. And then when I would give them a little bit harsher like treatment, but then not too harsh, they would be a little stressed out and a little sad. But then as soon as I let them be for a little bit with that sadness, a little bit of stress, they would grow so much bigger, so much brighter, and so much more fruit. A lot more fruit, a lot of poundage, and harvest was fantastic. So it's a part of the process, and it's necessary. And understanding those obstacles and dancing with it and being purposeful for each thing that happens will help you grow that much faster. Last letter, W, stands for wow, big tree. No, I'm kidding. It just stands for just, as the kids say, big W. You pretty much just win. And when you go through that flow of life, you end up winning constantly. No matter what it looks like when you get stressed out here and there, or you get blockages in your roots, whatever happens, you really start to win. And I want you to understand, when it comes to wins, this is the main thing to remember. Like if we look outside, even people that are here right now, we see beautiful plant life. It's amazing, awesome, wow. It's really like out there, it's showing what they can do, how individually different every plant is. What we don't see is the underneath roots holding everything together. Some plants can not get pushed around by wind and just die because they snap, because they don't have a good foundation. Some plants have grown a very great foundation in the dirt, and they won't go away anywhere, no matter what hits them. And understanding that having a win or W, it's not just the great things everyone sees. It's a deep work we do within ourselves. What a really great quote that I read the other day is that we can never reach the skies or the heavens without experiencing hell or the darkness. Let that sit. Yeah.
Let it sit.
Let it sit. And we all have experienced dark shit. We have gone really deep. Some of us have experienced hell. But if we're still here, that hell allows us to really go that much higher. And I really invite you guys to do that. Create that W. In the outer world where everyone sees it, sure, but in a deeper one, that where it truly matters. Yeah. Anyways, and from that, there was definitely a ground level where I was so lost and stuck. I felt so broken. I didn't think I could help myself or anyone could. But I still decided to try. And coming from a place where I was that hopeless, or I thought I was that hopeless, I grew. I started doing those things to really grow my roots and start coming above ground. And if I have been there personally, and I've been able to start growing from that small place where I can eat the foods I want, where I can have the great people around me all the time. I can also like go hiking, solo travel, like, the US, and just start doing all these fun things that I know I love and start really expressing myself without those blockages that was placed before. I know everyone else could too. And just like how I invited you all to in the beginning, like what you would love to do with me, I'd love for us all to have that experience together. Because I know for a fact that, because I could, you guys could too. And that the fact that all of you guys are here right now, we're legit doing it right now. So if you don't believe me, just look at yourself. We're right here. But so really keep those 4 points in mind. And I don't know if anyone noticed, but the acronyms GROW spells out grow. Yeah, but really keep that in mind. Ground level. What's your environment? R, real foods. What are you feeding yourself? Physically and mentally. O, obstacles. How are you getting through all the shit life throws at us? And W's, how are we winning? And what kind of winning are we doing? Thank you, guys.
Yay. Okay. So we're almost there. We're almost to the finish line of the live stream. And then we're going to take a break. I want everybody to talk to the brothers before they leave. Sebastian and don't tell me, Christopher and Sebastian from Peru visiting, and found us divine. And then Dr. Jan, why don't you come up and can you do 15 minutes on the that communication part? What was that other, what? Oh, they can't see your feet. I'll tell you about Dr. Jan real quick as she's coming. She's going to wrap up the live stream portion. She's an educator. She's taught in the Chicago public school systems at every grade level, K through 12. And she's been working with me, I think about 5 years. About 5 years. And I'll never forget the day I was speaking somewhere and she just stood up in the middle of the thing and, I know who you are, boom, boom, boom. You helped my friend, Brenda, and we've been together ever since. And I just want to say, I'm going to tell it. Yeah. When we first met, Dr. Jan had a real issue about her age. She did not want anyone to know her age. And it's like, I don't know why not. That is your divine gift. And so today, because she got out of her own way, she is the current Miss Senior Illinois America. And she is 81 years old and just getting started. So help me welcome Dr. Janice.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Dr. Jan Fortman. So I want to ask a question. Have you ever been in a situation where maybe you were in a professional meeting and you came up with this idea and you just couldn't wait to tell them about this idea? And you said, okay, I have a tremendous idea I want to share. And when you shared it, people just went, oh, okay, yeah, that's nice. And then maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, someone else said the same idea in a different way. And people went, oh, wow, that's brilliant. And then you said to yourself, I just said that. Wait a minute. In your personal life, have you ever said something to someone and they totally misunderstood you and you thought you were speaking English or whatever your language was, and you couldn't understand why? Why aren't they understanding me? Well, let me tell you a story. I had a problem communicating. I could not get my thought across to the most important person in my life. That was my mom. No matter what I said, she would take it the wrong way. We would argue, and I thought, well, Mom, what is the problem? You know what she said to me? Janice, it's the way you look at me. It's your body language. It's the words you use. And I thought, wonder, is this what's happening in my professional life? Because I remember I worked for Chicago Public Schools, and I was in this big meeting, and we had to come up with a plan to help students read better, read and comprehend better. And they needed a plan. And I said, I got a plan. And I said what it was. And then a little bit later, we were going around the room and someone said the same thing that I said in a different way. And guess what? They clapped and they implemented that plan in Chicago Public Schools. What was wrong? It was the way that I was communicating. Now, I'm going to read a quote. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. That's from Bernard Shaw. Now, think about the way that you communicate in your personal and your professional life. Think about how it impacts your personal and your professional relationships. Are there relationships that you let go because you just felt people didn't understand you? Are there professional relationships that you just put aside because you felt that it's not positive, I've tried? If you have employees, were there employees that you let go? Or were you ever let go because they didn't understand you? They misunderstood you. Why? Look back. I look back. Well, it was the words that I used. It was the way that I looked, eye contact. It was my body language. All of that affects your personal and your professional relationships. Now, how can you overcome that? There's something called effective communication. Effective communication is the receiver is satisfied with what they're saying, what they have heard, and the person who is speaking is satisfied that they gave what was meant to be said. In other words, there was understanding. And I asked you that question in the beginning because I really want you to think about any situation in your life, professional or personal, where you felt that you could have communicated better. Now, in your business, and I know all of you young, and you're looking forward to increasing your business financially, relationship-wise, and you're looking for abundance. You're looking for abundance financially, and you're looking for abundance in your relationships. Remember effective communication. Think about it. Think about how you look at people. There is something called micro expressions. And a micro expression is when someone's speaking to you and you've seen it. You're saying something and you see that across their eyes, right? Okay. And guess what? You've done it too. Someone is giving you an idea and you say, oh, that was great, but right across your eye was like, okay. You've said to someone, you know what? I really care about you and what you say, but that blank goes right across your eyes. Guess what? It's involuntary. However, if you practice how you look at people, if you practice your expressions, they won't see that. You won't have that micro expression. Think about in your relationships. And you are saying, oh, you know what, I said this, but they didn't really get the meaning. They really didn't understand what I said. Did you have that micro expression? Did you have that quick thought? Think about it. Relationships are life. Life is all about relationships. Life, relationships, communication. You think about all the things that you've heard today. And I was sharing something with someone about one of the speakers. And I remembered something that that speaker said. Guess what? I saw it one way. The person that I was talking to didn't see it that way. And I'm sure that the person who was presenting didn't mean it the way that they said it. Communication. Communication is important. Relationships are important. I want to make sure that, so you heard my story. Fortunately, I learned to communicate better with my mom. I practiced it. I made sure that when I spoke with her out of love. I watched how I moved my body. I watched how I looked at her. I definitely watched the words that I said. In my professional life, I did the same thing. I started, you know what? Let me watch what I say. Let me move my body right. Okay? And my professional relationships improved. They improved so that people would say, you know what? You are so genuine. You are so authentic. I just love to speak with you. Let's be friends or let's be colleagues. And I thought, oh, wow, I'm still me, but I have learned to communicate better. So how did I get to be Miss Senior Illinois America? A friend of mine, person that he knows, Brenda, said, you know what, Janice? You have such a great personality. You know how to communicate. Your relationships are wonderful. I think what you ought to do is compete in Miss Illinois. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do anything like that. Well, I went on and I did. But you know what? Communication. I had to stand before a panel. And they asked me all kinds of questions. And I had to. And I thought, well, they just want to know, my answers. But they were watching the way I moved, they were watching my eyes, they were watching if I smiled. Later on, they told me, guess what? We love the way that you communicate to us. And I thought, oh, wow. That's how I became Miss Illinois America. Of course, I had to sing, I had to do a talent, and I had to have a gown and all that kind of stuff, you know. But, and I thought about that, and oh, wow, this, you know, I competed against all these different women, and oh my God, this is wonderful. Communication. Now, with my mom, like I said, it wasn't until really late. Actually, it was on her deathbed that she grabbed my hand, that she finally understood me. And I was telling Jen, I had a dream one night, and she came to me. And that dream was full of love and understanding. And it was like she said, you know what, Jen? I understand you now. So this is what I want to tell you. Practice your communication. Practice having loving, authentic relationships personally and professionally. I have a relationship with Lauren Michaels Harris. And I don't know what to say about that relationship.
I was just saying it's kind of odd, but it works.
It works. It works because it's authentic.
Yeah.
It's real. So that's what I want to say to you. Have authentic, real relationships that not only serve you, but serve the person who you're having that professional or relationship with. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Jan.
You're welcome.
Thank you. See, look. So today, as we wrap up, perfect timing. I just went outside and called my husband, and he's doing taxes and patient files and stuff, and he goes, "How's it going?" And I was looking around, and he goes, that well, because he knows me, that when something is so divine, I don't try to find any type of phrase or just any word to describe it. I used to do that, but I don't anymore, because I realize not every word has been discovered. Sometimes we are the first to pass some way, just like every person that made everything that we live with. Someone had to pass by that mat. What do we call that thing that we wipe our, I don't know, that thing, till someone said, doormat, glass, chair. I remember the first time something came through me that had never been in this world. And it was before, I did not know when it happened. It put me in People magazine. You've seen it. Dr. Janet hangs in my home. The world's first apology company, doing apologies for people who couldn't or wouldn't for themselves. In 1988 in Hollywood, California, Apology Accepted. And I remember I dreamed it, a nocturnal dream. And in the dream, I was in a game show audience. And instead, it was like Love Connection. And instead of voting for 3 types of dates, we were voting on 3 types of apologies. The one that we thought would put this relationship back better than ever. And as we were leaving, I said to no one in particular, it was the first time I heard the voices, the chorus, the choir. I said, boy, what a great idea for a business. I wonder who came up with this. And everyone in there looked at me. And in unison, they said, no one, Lauren. This is for you, but only if you want it. That was the moment I decided and learned that decision is the thing we make up here at the end of the block before we turn to go the other side, because you can't see around corners. But I can see from that end to that end. So set your decisions down there and then work your way back up to the first square of the sidewalk and dump everything you are into that process. When you do it through purpose, some days you're supposed to step in the next square of the sidewalk and it will light up. Ding, 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 go. And again, but sometimes you go, nothing happens. But there's one here, there's one there. Maybe it's to go back to this one because you didn't get it all. But be patient. Legacy is built on 3 P's: passion, purpose, and patience. Let your passion be the very first thing you look at after you draw your most recent life-giving breath. We had breath work this morning. As soon as you've done that, because you got to do that to live, your passion should be staring directly into your soul. This should be the thing that you will not give up. You will not give up on. You will not change it ever for no reason whatsoever. You will be tested from all directions, top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner. But know this, as you leave this place today and go back into your lives, remember, you are in great company. Mother Teresa, when she first bent down on one knee to wipe pus or spittle from somebody's face or mouth or eye, wiping the flies away, she didn't say to herself, if I do this, I bet one day they'll canonize me and I'll be a saint. I bet the world will know my name. No. What she did right was she got down and she did it from the heart. She did it on purpose. And when she stood back up, she rose within more purpose. When Martin Luther King said, one day, little white boys and little black boys and little white girls and little black girls will all play together. He saw what I told you you will see one day when you leave, the future coming towards you. Because he said in the next line, I may not get there with you, but it will happen. He knew. You know. Randy said today, and he's right, I say it all the time, never forget who you are. Remember yourself daily to your original self. Know that you are everything you are meant to be and more. Know that your ancestors have chosen you to inherit their overflow because they could not finish their work in the time they were given. But they were shown all of us that were coming. And they said, that one, I give all of my overflow to him. Use it wisely. Change the world. One story at a time. Awaken the abundant master that lives within all of us. God bless you all. Go forth and change this world. Thank you so much. And thank all of y'all. See ya. We love you. We'll see you next time. Yay. We did it. All right. All right. No, thank you. Stop up in the corner. Bye.